ClickUp to Sheets works, and I'm going to show you how in a few seconds. I'm selecting my workspace, my space. I'll go into my folder and select a list from ClickUp. And from there, I'll just click Sync My List, and it should pull out everything in a new Google Sheet. It's created the sheet, and it's adding all the tasks one by one. Now, today I'm not going to demo you everything that you can do with ClickUp to Sheets. I'm going to talk to you about how I built this, how I made ClickUp to Sheets happen. If we get to this little diagram, I'm going to show you how I did. In the first video, I've created one code.js file that you've seen. It was basically one file that held the whole code for ClickUp to Sheets. But from there, I realized it was being too complex to handle the whole code in one single file. So I decided to create a few different files that did different things. So if you look at this is basically my folder for all my code. There's a bunch of utilities that you don't really need to know about, but if we focus on this part, I have created different files. One for ClickUp services, Google Sheet services, subscriptions, sync, UI, and utilities. And I'm going to explain you what it does. I have these files here. This is the manifest file. Basically, it declares the add-on to Google. It lets Google know that we have an add-on that is called ClickUp to Sheet, what it's about, etc., etc. Next, we have utilities. So these are general functions. And if we open up the code, you can see it has functions for including the rate limiting of the API. If I want to debug the app, I can turn on the debug mode, turn on to true or false. If I want to get this timestamp of the last sync. So it's basically general functions that I need to make the app work. Next, we have the UI related features. So if I'm going to click up to Sheets, and if I open up the add-on, there's something like welcome to ClickUp to Sheets. This is held in the code called UI. If I open up this code and I search for what's called welcome to ClickUp Sheets, and there's a code that holds the welcome card, the workspaces connected screen, the event handlers, the select list screen. So all the different screens that I'm going to need in my add-on on the side panel. Next up, we have the sync services. These are all the rules related to syncing ClickUp and Google Sheets. If we're going to sync services, we can go at one of the functions. For example, this one updates the sheet columns based on the same options. So it will create the right columns based on the toggle that you choose. This one sets up the headers. It creates the first row in the sheet based on the options. This one updates or adds a task. So they all have a little role into making ClickUp to Sheet work behind the scenes. Next, the ClickUp service. So this one handles the connection to ClickUp and the collection of task data. So if we get into my code again, I open ClickUp service, and we have this one that basically logs out from ClickUp, or this one that gets the ClickUp service or gets all the space in the workspace. So these all perform something different relating to interacting with the ClickUp API, with the ClickUp workspace that you use. Then we have the Google Sheet service. As you can see here, for example, this one retrieves the existing task ID from the sheet. This one updates the descriptions in the sheet. This one updates the sheet with the latest comments. They all perform something different related to implementing the data from ClickUp into Google Sheet. And the final one is the subscription service. And as you can see, ClickUp to Sheets offers a 40-day trial. I've been starting it yesterday, so now I have 13 days left. And it offers you to subscribe. And the thing is that I need to handle the subscription status and the plan the user is on for the add-on. There are a bunch of services that help me for that. This one, for example, updates subscription status. As soon as you start your subscription, you start paying, it will be updated into the add-on. This one checks if the user is subscribed. This one sends the user data to a webhook to receive emails, basically to thank you for subscribing, to give you the first steps when you start using ClickUp to Sheets. All of these functions have a different role and perform something different for ClickUp to Sheets. And if we look back at the diagram, they all work in harmony. So each one of them has a different role. Utilities is general functions, UI handles the screen, sync handles the same rules. The ClickUp service handles the connection to ClickUp, and the Sheet service, the import of task data to Google Sheet. And finally, the subscription service, the subscription rule, and the payment management. As you can see, all of this has a role. But obviously, I didn't show you the whole step of making ClickUp to Sheet work. But I'm going to explain you a little bit how I made this happen, how I managed to create all of these functions and all this code without coding, without knowing how to code at least. I've used something called Claude. Claude is basically like ChatGPT. It's an AI that helps you perform different tasks. Obviously, it can generate content, it can generate text, it can create emails, it can create one-pagers, whatever you want. But most of all, what's interesting for me, it can generate really, really good code. And that's what I did with Claude. I've added some of the code here in the project knowledge, and I've added some extra documentation. For example, I've added a Google add-on documentation. This basically explains everything about how to use Google add-ons, how they work, etc. I've added the roadmap of my product. I've added the API documentation of ClickUp right here with all the rules of endpoints. I've added all the API calls that you can do to ClickUp API. I've added a one-pager that explains what ClickUp to Sheet does. So from there, I've prompted Claude to do different things. And obviously, because I know what I need and because I know ClickUp and Google Sheets and basics of coding, I was able to prompt it properly. For example, let's take some sort of prompts. I wanted to optimize ClickUp to Google Sheets sync. I told it, okay, optimize the user experience, optimize the data handling, the settings, persistence, etc. And it basically generated code to optimize the sync process. And as you can see right here, it's working out. It's been generating code and functions that I actually use in my code. And obviously I had to iterate a lot of times. As you can see here, there's a lot of conversations with Claude. So for example, if I want to automate email sequences, there's code. It created me the functions to call the webhooks. If I want to implement some features like handling for the list in the ClickUp API, I asked to change the function. I gave it some screenshots, some code, some prompt, and it created the actual code, the actual updated fixed code for me. I didn't have to code any of this. And obviously this opens up to a lot of opportunities for people that don't know about code. But I want to disclaim something. Again, I know quite well the ClickUp API. I know quite well how ClickUp works. I know quite well how Google Sheet works. And I do have basics of coding. So I know about HTML, CSS. And now because of that, because I've been using Claude, I know a little bit about JavaScript and functions and how to create functions for Google Workspace. So you need basics. You need to know what you want to do. You need to know your direction. But this is just to show you that it's possible if you know what your product's about, if you know the direction you want to go in, if you have some business sense to create a whole product with the help of AI. And obviously this is very technical. This is just, if you're interested, it's just to prove you that it's possible, that it's doable. But this is the last technical episode. And in the next one, we're going to talk about things that are a bit more about what ClickUp to Sheets is about, what it does. I'm going to talk about the landing page I built, and I'm going to demo you the product in the final episode of Build in Public. Stay tuned because I've been working on the website of ClickUp to Sheets, and I'm looking forward to share it with you. And when the last episode will be released, it means ClickUp to Sheets will be available on the Google Workspace Marketplace, and you'll be able to use it. Thanks for watching, and see you next time for a tour of the ClickUp to Sheets website and of ClickUp to Sheets itself. I'll show you a little demo of how it works, what it does, and you'll be able to download it from Google Workspace. See you next time.